School Building Committee. Who do we have online?
This is Kirk.
Oh, great. Hi, Kirk. Okay, so we're gonna do a roll.
Hello.
And we have Lindsay.
Gerald.
Who's got it?
Mike.
No,
Carol.
Sharon.
Mike. Oh, hi, Mike.
Just ran to Sharon.
Anyone else?
Good evening.
Would be coming down.
Oh, Tom, Sharon.
That's
Sarah.
her.
Okay,
Joe, look at
perfect. Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Karen? She's coming. She's probably just late. John?
Here.
Kirk?
Here.
Sarah?
Here.
Ed?
Here.
Greg is not able to come tonight. Pat?
Here.
Nancy? Here. And Carla here. Thank you. We'll quickly just review our agenda. We've added public comment to our agenda in anticipation of having public comment in the future. That public comment will be anything that is not on the agenda for that evening. And we will allow the public to ask questions if on the different topics that we have, if everybody's in agreement with that. We'll do liaison reports. We will have an update and a report from LBA. We will have, and we'll go right into the OPM and have a report from them. We will approve any warrants or invoices. And that is another item that we added this week in anticipation of future work coming forward. We'll approve the prior meeting minutes, and then we'll talk about our next meeting dates. So we're going to start with public comment. We have any public comment online? Okay, and we'll go to liaison reports. Does anybody have a report to make? No? Okay, I will make a couple, I guess. We did have the
Did you want a communications group report?
Go ahead, you can,
Okay.
I was gonna call on you anyways.
Oh, okay. You want me to go now or, sure. So.
Do you wanna come up?
Let me do it at the podium. That's great. The communications working group met on Thursday. We're gonna meet the next 4 Thursdays. For now, we're gonna meet weekly. We came up with, so I'm gonna take point on that for the purpose of the liaison reports and agenda setting. We will be, we've created a general agenda, so we're going to continually take up in-person public engagement. Thank you, Jenny. Digital engagement, which will include website, social media, file management. We'll be having communications campaigns on the agenda. We're working on the back end for Google Drive for information. I know Lindsay's been collecting some digital collateral. And our next step is to review the proposals from the website vendors, and we will be talking about that at our next meeting this coming Thursday. And then we'll make a recommendation to the larger group for which vendor to choose to move forward.
And thank you for stepping up.
Yeah, thanks, Jane.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jim?
I could give an update on the sustainability working group.
Sure.
So we've scheduled our first meeting for the sustainability working group for January 29th. And after we meet, we may select a different liaison to give updates to the board, but for now, it's me. Our agenda will be to review any existing sustainability goals and requirements, including the stretch code in the energy code, the existing town of Reading sustainability goals, and any sustainability goals that were in the RFP. Then we will discuss a little bit about what we know about incentives that are available. And then the primary goal of the meeting is to identify goals and we're gonna kind of organize those in 5 different areas: site, energy, water, air quality, and materials. And we'll come up with a set of goals for the project on the sustainability front.
Do you have a time for that meeting?
It is 2 p.m. to 3 p.m.
What day was it?
On Monday, the 29th.
Monday the 20th.
I sent out an invite
Okay, I didn't.
this afternoon.
On Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah, I just sent it like a couple hours ago.
Okay.
So he just hasn't checked his email since then.
Is that that's on Zoom?
It's on Zoom. Sorry, I didn't ask if I could be excused. Could be excused.
And we did, it seems like so long ago, but we did have, on the 9th, we had the MSBA kickoff meeting where they talked about expectations moving forward, through the feasibility study and the schematic design. So that was interesting and overwhelming at the same time. But we have a lot of good support from the MSBA. Education leadership team, it looks like there's 3 meetings coming up on February 2nd, 9th, and 16th. And do you have anything to add, Lindsay or Tom? You don't have to. Okay,
I would just quickly note that there were quite a few site visits this week that went really well, and they asked some really great questions, got to see the grounds outside and inside, and technology and facilities helped a lot with that. So thanks for getting that started.
and we had our first,
And I'd just like to share on that note too, really quick. I just think we've been,
Then the representatives from the Killam staff, I think have done a really good job, kind of not only representing the staff, but then disseminating information across the staff too. So Katie Cole, Joelle McGinnity, and Denise Iozo, I think have been doing a really good job sort of in their de facto liaison roles here too. So just a quick thank you to them.
and we had our first community meeting with the public on the 11th in the evening. And we had about 45, 47 people there, and I think we got some good information that we're gonna hear about today. So, okay. We'll move on to LBA. And you can come and sit too, whatever you're more comfortable with.
So slides.
can I join you?
Please.
I have to do something.
Just stand there and look pretty.
That's what I've been doing my whole life.
Okay. So we've already reviewed many of these items on the report of like what we've done in the last 2 weeks. Carla mentioned the MSBA kickoff. We spent a day at the Killam, or half a day, observing the existing school with our educational planner and seeing the existing spaces, how they're used, how the program works. We went on some school tours with folks from the district and from the Killam school to 3 different new elementary schools in all around the state of Massachusetts, felt like. And we'll do some, as we talked about last time, we'll do some additional tours so that the SBC members can join a little bit later in the project. We had our first community meeting, as Carla mentioned. We did our existing conditions assessment, as Lindsay mentioned. Everyone's just done my job for me here. And we had the communications working group kickoff. This is just a recap of the schedule, where we are in January, what we've done so far, and what we're getting into. We're continuing the existing conditions assessments and reports, and I think the traffic analysis is going to start in a week. And I know the survey team was out there on site today, starting their survey.
You're cranking.
So we're gonna spend a bit more time talking about the project charter meetings and our findings. Lee, do you want to do this one?
Sure. Well, let's go back and forth.
Okay.
I mean, the way I looked at this was, we actually had 2 meetings. We had first the whole faculty community come in, and we met with them first. And one sheet that you don't see here is our trying to basically tabulate all of those stickers. So if you weren't there, you weren't there, right?
No.
I didn't see it. So they were both the same basic format. And the idea was that we had kind of education or or sustainability, things like that. We were trying to draw out of them what their priorities might be. And after talking, each time we put them on tables with pens and big pieces of paper and had them write their own and then kind of do a round robin where they did like groups until they all hit all the different subjects. And it actually works pretty well, and my understanding is with the community that came, mostly neighbors and people who, you know, have kids at the school and others. A number of neighbors who watch the school all day long and have a lot to offer. They also felt like it was very connected and interactive, and I think after a while they got into it. You know, it always takes a little while to get into that for all of you who were there. And people put on their little stickers, and Jenny kind of figured out what those stickers meant. She has a crazy list under each one trying to tabulate it. If somebody wrote something, because there was a million things written, but if somebody wrote something and nobody put a sticker there, I don't consider that a priority. I consider that a thing. You know, it's on the list, but when you have 100 things on a list, people like this
So
would,
this is our tabulation where
where it just went on and on and on, but Jenny is looking at the different scores and figuring out what people thought were important enough as they roamed around and put it on. I think it was really valuable to see the faculty's things and then the community's things. Having kind of assimilated them, they were different, as you can imagine. They care about different things. So the first list that Jenny had up was, this was an attempt to understand in a bit of an order. You know, it's true that the ones on the top are probably the ones that had the most votes, but by the time you get to priorities and everybody's voting for them, after a while they're just there, and then you decide whether they should be there or not. We try to avoid the temptation to see what we see and then change it and the words and wordsmith it too much to take the meaning of what they might have meant. So we're trying to use their words. That doesn't mean that you as the SBC won't wordsmith this. It's your job. You're going to look at this, you're going to say, well, this is missing, or we need to emphasize this, or we should say it a different way. But for the most part, on the very top, we determined 5 different themes. But even the little way that we're talking about them, we're trying to say what those themes were to your community. For example, focused on education. There's a little bit of a twist here where when they see education, they think this is really about the elementary school. This is about the kids. This is about the students. And when you start looking at this, maybe there are things that look like every school should have them, but you can really get that sense that this is really about the elementary school. And even when you look at community-centered, the community is at the center of this, but they're not just thinking of Reading as the community, they're thinking of everything else. There are things in there that say, like, community use is secondary to educational program, or the elementary programs. Things like that rose to the surface as being very important. If this were a high school, you could make the argument, well, this is a community building, blah, blah, blah. This is an elementary school. You could easily make the argument, especially during the hours, this is an elementary school and a safe place for kids. On the off hours, how can we serve the community? It's a very different kind of balance there, and I think that's something people were trying to say. Realistic sustainability. It felt like people were there were people there at the from climate, the advisory, and they know their stuff, but it was very reasonable and very pragmatic stuff. It was about energy, it was about things that you learn about. There were things about, playground and WOW centers and teaching kids a little bit as a tool, but really at the top was an electric facility, a climate resilient design with a reduced carbon footprint. And by the way, carbon could mean embodied and new. All of those kinds of things were there. And then a lot of little pieces about safety and health. Mostly about traffic. I'm going to say my little spiel, which is one of the things I've learned from our security consultants. If you do a pie chart and you look for how kids were hurt, or there were incidences, or even God forbid deaths or something like that, this is buses. It's like it's mostly traffic in the day, or somebody getting hurt in the school. Obviously, a shooter or something like that is a very rare occurrence that we want to plan for, compartmentalize and all of that. But they say over and over that cameras are not going to stop that. Compartmentalization and all of that do stop it, and limited doors and all of that. Cameras are there for later, when you look back to see who wrote that on the wall. And I think that really came out in the group, where it was mostly at first about access, traffic, pedestrians, safe routes for biking, walking, access from the roads, all of those kinds of things. And then they got a little bit into more the site and how that can function. You get the idea that safety was huge. And then this could be first, and this is really up to you, but a sense of belonging is real here. So many people said, please retain the welcoming Killam School entry feeling. Killam School is an older school. It's one story, and it is about as friendly a school that I've been to in a long time. And it's not just the building is friendly enough, but it's the people, and they really are friendly. And one of the very first things a number of different teachers told me this, everybody here likes each other. And again, not as common as you'd think. There really is a feeling that the students are at the center of this, and everybody really gets along, and it's like a family, and it's like a neighborhood, and they all we went in there on a Wednesday morning, and they had a big spread in the staff room of different foods and quiches and stuff. I'm going every Wednesday from now on. Open, colorful, connected. These are the things that are already, a lot of this stuff is already there. They don't want to lose the sense of belonging that already exists in that place when we build a new school. And that is going to say a lot about the form and the connections and the openness and all of that. They talked a lot about openness. They talked a lot about welcoming kids from other places like the Boston residential students and multilingual families and everyone else like that, having places where they get welcome, because that's different now. I would even say the special education community, when you come in during the day and all of that, where can you go? It wants to be a slightly different setup. So, and a lot about the students. So the first one is, now, this may not be the time to do this. So then the next thing I did was we made this list, and this is really in your words. It's a lot of things. And the next one, that was good, is all we really did was we took each of those things and we tried to make them into little bullets of meaning, kind of combining them. Designing an elementary school environment that's distinct grade level pods that includes flexible classrooms, the gathering, small group rooms, all with integrated tech. It sounds like I'm putting it all together, but that is really all what they said. And we're trying to integrate more into these bullets about different things. This one's about maker spaces and kind of science. This one's about special education inclusion. This one was about teacher and development. This one was about the pre-K. So we tried to sift through, organize it for you, get it to a place where you can look at this and say, does that sound like us? So we have focus on education. Next one, you can tell I'm not looking at it too much. And community-centered. There is a real, I do like this sentence once you kind of put it together. Follow a balanced approach that considers cost and value, supports year-round use, that was the air conditioning, and leads to town-wide consensus. It sounds like a handful, but that really is the core of what we were being told in their words. All we did was put it into a coherent sentence. And then there's a thing about neighborhood, and that's okay. A thing about neighborhood and fitting in
into the existing neighborhood. There's a thing about support community functions, but not like during the day. And then what about all the town sports and stuff? If you look through this, you're gonna see all the things that you probably would have thought were here, but it's in their words. And then next one is realistic sustainability. Please look this over. There's a lot in here about the kind of building it is at first, the kind of model it can be for your development in your town, the idea of daylight and healthy, like comfort and things like that is very important to them and to all of us. And then the idea of the student's relationship to it all. The next one is safe and healthy. I put under healthy, I put all the bathroom things because the truth is that water fills and wash stations, stuff like that since the pandemic really is a health issue. And when we start programming and talk to elementary schools teachers, especially K1 and 2, it's all going to be about toileting. We're going to have hours of discussion about toileting. And then a sense of belonging, I think that is really what is going to make you in the end if we do this right together and keep it to the forefront. So what I would suggest, do you have any thoughts? What I would suggest is that you look at these. That's why we sent it a little earlier. And then you read them, make little notations, go, is this clear, is this right? And try to say that this is our charter with you. It could be a list, like a long list, it doesn't have to be on slides, but these are the things that are your priorities and their priorities together. You may have some things you want to lift up a little bit or push down or insert. And I want you to take the time to do that. It doesn't have to be done today. This is a draft. We just tried to get it to a certain place where you felt it was very organized and tried not to change its meaning to you.
And maybe we should just say a little bit about what is the role of the project charter, why do we have it, and how do we use it?
Well, we're gonna use it against you. No, as
Yeah, you are.
no, because as Mike Carroll would say, these guys here, these are, I think of these as the charter, the sentence, and the community priorities. The charter is a list of priorities that we will follow and you will follow in making decisions. So when we get to a place and we say, it costs money to have this extra thing for the community, but you can only access it during the day. Oh, wait a second, our project charter says that we should focus on education first during the day and have other things that people could, it helps us make decisions. But if we come along to a certain place, when we get to a place where we say, you know what, in our program, we want to create this area. We're going to call it a special education space for the MSBA program, but its real sense is that people come from the outdoors during the day, from the Boston resident program or other, families. It's a family center, but we can't write family center on it because for certain reasons, Mr. Microphone. And we talk about that, and then later on you say, you know what, we have too much square footage. Is that something we take out? Well, you asked for it. Let's see if we can combine it with something. Let's see if there's something else that's less priority. That's how we use it. We use it to make decisions and to continue to go back. That's why it's important. When it comes to sustainability, you read the section on sustainability. This is what your peers in town said. And you see if you agree with them all. And there can be more to it when we do the sustainability committee and have a whole list of priorities that's separate from that. But those were the overall kind of like values and goals of it. And that's what it's for. So
And the MSBA requires it also, right?
I believe that the MSBA, I'm not sure if they require it, but I know that Mike, I know that, I don't think they require it, but if we're gonna do it, we should vote on it. Mike likes to vote on it.
Correct.
Oh, is he on there?
Lee, this is Mike, if I can.
Oh, I didn't know you were here.
So the MSBA does not require it. I think it is important for us to have as a tool, just like you stated, Lee. And I think, the way I look at it is at the end of the project, if we go down the list and we can check every box, then we've had a successful project. So that's ultimately what we're trying to do here, is understand what the community needs and what the SBC believes will make this a successful project. And that's what this list is going to be in the charter.
Thank you. We did talk about it quite a bit last week, his expectations for it, so we did it in conjunction with them. I hope you find it to be well-written for an architect. And, but everybody has different words they want to use and different priorities, so you should maybe, you don't have to discuss it tonight, but you can take some time and maybe meet and talk about it and maybe send some emails around and mess around with it a little bit. That would be my suggestion.
So there's no formal process for us to do this, you just want people to comment on it.
Well, we could stand here for the next 2 hours and do it, but I don't think that's what you want to do.
No, I'm just asking.
Well, here's the thing.
Okay.
If you read these, you may say, oh, that's nice. But other people, I've been in other committees where they read them and they just start taking every word and wordsmithing is the word, and saying, I don't like the way you said resilience here, that's the wrong way, and da-da-da-da. And we should add something about this and debate it. And you can do that. So I really leave it up to you because I'm not exactly sure how to approach that.
Okay.
So do we send these, if we do these, do we send these to Matt? Instead of, just from a,
Right, with an open meeting law type of thing. So maybe next meeting, we'll have everybody really break them down, and if they have suggestions, maybe we could send them to Matt to.
Or you can, you can send them, if you organize and talk about it and go through you, Carla, or something, and to me, I will edit and organize it and rewrite it for you, if that's how you want to do it. I don't mind doing that at all. I really have a sense of where everything belongs and how to move things around, so I'd be happy to be your editor.
So if you create, if you keep track of edits, if people send edits into you, maybe we can discuss
Or we
it
could
next
make
week.
it a shared document.
Right.
Yeah, and again, think of it as just, good old-fashioned goals and values. All right.
whatever adheres to whatever we need to
I
adhere
know.
to. I never know what to do with
We
that.
can send you the Word document, right? And have you use that as your base. It doesn't have to be PowerPoint, and then you can go from there.
Why don't we send our edits, is it okay to send our edits into Jackie?
Yeah.
So then we're not collaborating on a working document, making comments,
That would be
right?
Yep.
Very nice.
Okay. And maybe if we could do that and then review it at the next meeting.
Do you want to try to get Matt to get all the comments to LBA before the next meeting so they could take a crack at a draft?
Like a pre-deadline to Jackie so that we give enough time.
Why
Yeah,
don't you try to get it to me by Friday? Next Friday.
We stand by because I want to talk about the date of our next meeting.
Okay.
So if it was in 2 weeks, it would be February 5th, but we'd like to propose the next meeting be February 12th, just because of how it works in our workflow. When we'll have some more material to share with you, the next meeting will be sharing back the sustainability goals and priorities. So that would also give everyone a bit more time to noodle around with the project charter language.
So maybe we can say that all of our comments go to Jackie for the 31st. They can be shared with LBA. And then turned around so we can talk about it on the 12th.
Sounds good to me.
Sound good?
Quick question, this is Karen. Is it just that project charter section that we're looking at, or the couple of slides that went before it as well?
I think what we'll do is we'll send you the slide of the list of things, so you can see that I took all those and put them into paragraphs or sentences. But you really probably should just focus on the bulleted
4 or 5 paragraphs, that's the project charter, not the
We
list.
could kind of call this the backup in terms of like, this is where these ideas came from. This multicolored chart, and then these, this bulleted list is the project charter. We'll send this as a Word document.
Is that a camera on top of that little guy?
Mhm.
It's very cool.
Okay, thanks for that clarification, that's helpful.
Could I get the Excel spreadsheet?
Sure, sure.
Of all the.
Real
I want the real backup.
Sure,
That's the backup with people.
that's what everybody wrote.
Everybody's wrote.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah,
where-
that's the kind of the raw data, so this is the actual comment.
And you
know.
will find that there are a few things on the very bottom of each one of those that we did not put in. You may look at that and say, you know what? That one should have been in.
Yeah.
So that's helpful.
And I can't really read that from here, but I think I would be able to tell on a particular item that 3 community members thought that was important and 12 faculty members thought it was important.
Well, there's
Vice
two
versa.
there's 2
There's 2
sheets.
sheets, there's,
One is all faculty and one is mostly community. So you can
Excellent.
kind of compare them.
yeah, but I have the voting tabulation here, and then the total points based on the voting, so you can kind of see how the.
When you say voting, what? voting
So
by?
folks, first we went around and kind of brainstormed ideas, and then we gave everyone stickers so they could vote for their first priority with a blue sticker, their second priority with a yellow sticker, and their third priority with a green sticker. So
But all of those votes were, you were inviting positive votes.
there were,
Did
yeah,
you
we didn't
also
invite
invite
negative.
negative votes?
No, we didn't.
See, I think that's probably an issue.
Okay.
You should have asked, maybe you should have asked people to say, what is it you really don't want in this
Ah.
law? Because if you don't give people the opportunity to say no, it becomes a series of yeses. In other words, these are all apple pie issues. You know, everybody loves every one of these, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Was there any surprises? Did anybody make any comments like which surprised you, which negative comments that you didn't expect to get but you did get?
Yeah, I think one way to look at it is, I know this sounds an approach. You almost don't have to elicit negative things when priorities are the opposite of those negative things. So when they say it's very important to keep this or not to have this, it's still a priority. So they did give us that, and we can, I think when they do, so anyway. Were there any negative things that that rose to the top? I think everything was just clarifying. You tell me, what was the atmosphere? People were,
I was at the table for both, for the whole the community piece of it, what do we want as a community?
Yeah.
And I kind of led it and said, what do you want? Like, not the sky's the limit, but what would you like to have?
what's
So that's how-
important to you?
What's important?
I think what you find is that people don't write swimming pools and
Right.
butterflies, usually. They are very pragmatic. As a matter of fact, especially with faculty, you really have to push them to see outside of the room that they're in trying to make shit every day. But they do, by telling you what they do like, they also tell you what they don't like. And they do, and there are things in here that say that. So when they say thermal comfort and temperature control, they're telling you that because everything's cold or really hot and they have no control over it and they need that. When they say we need lots of storage, because we don't have any storage. When they say we need sinks, because we don't have sinks. And it's pretty clear where that comes from. But it is part of the process. We're not afraid of asking people what they don't like.
The teachers, one of the things that came up a lot was they wanted outdoor learning space with like little like tree stumps so the kids could sit and they could teach them. And then they would say, but then that could be used as and they kept reinventing that space for other people and other times for people to use it at night and during the weekends.
This was outside the building?
Outside the building.
Outside the building.
It's amazing how thorough they can get when you make them do 5 minutes at a spot. The other thing is, and it is really nice to get the faculty and the community and kind of look at both. The other thing to remember is that this is a generalized kind of statement with specific focus. Because when we meet on doing visioning, we're going to do with that, it's a very intense kind of thing.
the visioning goals will be very, very highly articulated in a different level. When we do sustainability committee or group, the sustainability goals will be really zoomed in on. So this is really kind of general. And we, in a way, you almost want to look at those happen and then maybe go back to that and then see if it informs it. Same with, same with everything else.
So I guess a way to say, don't like this is to just rank it lower. We have that option.
Well, I like to, so if somebody really says, they talked a lot about safety on site. You know, kids are crossing, they're doing this, so clearly we put it in positive terms. We need to have good safety on site and no crossing of kids to here and here, separate the playground from the parking, da-da-da-da-da. But they came from negative experience, but we turn it into, this is what we have to do to make this successful. That's kind of how I look at it. Somewhere along the way, I became a very positive person. I used to be very negative.
I think what John was trying to point out was, you know, there could be certain elements of the building or things that you might have garnered from that question. An example, everybody likes the fact that it's welcoming when you come in, but I believe there are some people that don't like the entrance to that building because of security issues, because I can't see. And that might not be something, you know, that might not be something that came up. That if you said, what do you not like about this building? Someone may have said, I don't like the fact that I can't see from my desk here as an administrator, I can't see who comes and goes in this building. Which that's kind of a basic thing that's going to be baked into your program from a security standpoint, because that's kind of 101 in the things you do. But I think that's kind of what John was talking about. And I think you can garner some things from saying, what is it you don't like about this building?
Yes, well, not just that, but traffic. Take traffic as an example. There must be people out there who say, don't make it too welcoming for people to drive their kids to school every day. Because you know we're fed up with this traffic. Did anybody get the opportunity to say, you know, ease up on making it too easy for people to drive?
They did.
It comes up in a,
some of the teachers, their comments were, we want the kids to walk to school.
See?
Yeah.
we want more, so you want to encourage, in the thing, it'll say, encourage walkers, safety walkers. For example, our traffic study person, Rebecca, when she goes there, she looks at the safe routes to school through the whole neighborhoods and stuff. There's scores that are already in databases, and she's going to look at all that stuff, and she's going to suggest ways to encourage safe walking and biking. On the other hand, you have almost no buses for elementary schools in town. One of the surprises to me was that you have 3 buses, and they go to this school. But I don't think you have buses at any of the other elementary schools. Is that true? Except for the Boston residence bus that goes.
That is correct.
And so the interesting thing about that is Killam is the only school where certain kids from further away are going on buses. And some of them are because they need transportation and their families need transportation, and that's why. But they go to Killam. And so it's an interesting difference there. One of the big things that I learned that was surprising to me, we went there and observed in the morning. And watching everybody come in, the cars coming in, which wasn't crazy. The dropping off and the buses coming in, which wasn't crazy. Little kids coming in and sitting on the bench for pre-K. But then all the walkers and other kids walking around the whole school and going in separate doors, standing outside of their door number 7 and waiting for the teacher to let them in at 8:15 or 8:10 or whatever it was, standing out there in these little clusters. And sometimes when they're younger, the parent is with them at the playground. Very interesting to think about, how do you have better safety, because you don't want a million doors, but also have this kind of feeling, this welcoming feeling of having possibly in the morning or in the afternoon a number of exits or entrances that are safely monitored and appropriate for entering at different places, if that's part of the welcoming experience. So that's the level of kind of thing that we'll be talking to everybody about over and over and over. and it will inform the organization of the school. So that was a real surprise to me. It's been a long time since I've been to a school where everybody's walking in separate doors all the way around the outside.
Well, that's a major criticism of Killam, is it has too much access.
It would be a huge criticism for security and for weather and stuff like that. But it's also, watching it, a hugely inviting, welcoming, and different kind of feeling as a neighborhood school. I'm not saying it's good because I'm a security hawk, but what I'm saying is that that's part of what gives it that flavor. So is there a way to do it? I don't know. We'll have to talk about it. That's how I've been.
Okay.
Any other comments? Okay.
Yeah, I want to open it up actually to other comments about the or questions about the project charter process, because that was a good discussion. Okay, someone.
You mentioned, I think you mentioned site surveys, that was underway,
Yep, started today.
started today. And there's another thing you mentioned, I can't remember what it was now. Traffic study.
Yeah, it's gotten, I'm not sure when it's starting, but soon, this week or next week. So just reviewing our next steps, the next SBC meeting then will be February 12th, if that's acceptable to the board, the committee.
So then we're gonna swap our XLT meetings.
One option would be that we could meet on both of those weeks, that we're not meeting with the SBC. I think it might be a good idea just to have that check-in. I'm not sure what the agenda will be, but it's I feel like it's good to have a weekly check-in with the
Sure, so you're
executive leadership.
Is this suggestion to change that one meeting, or is it to change that one meeting and all the subsequent meetings to alternating weeks?
So actually, we have a slight, I don't know. On our detailed schedule, we actually have a different sequence of meetings. It's like almost every other week, but it's not quite every other week because it's kind of aligned to milestones that we have in the project. Do I have that here? I don't have that available
How do we get everybody on
on the same page.
looking really far ahead so that they don't,
Yeah.
if you're going on a trip or you can plan,
Yeah.
we should basically set them all up.
I think, yes, it's just a question of communication. So why don't I send a list of the meetings that we propose to Carla, Jackie?
And then we can get them out.
Yep.
Okay, so moving forward, let's ignore our schedule of every other meeting and we'll get a new schedule from you.
Yep.
And can you have that include the XLT meetings too?
Sure.
What your proposal is for that, so we can just get it into everybody's calendars. That would be great.
So if we're just talking about moving the 5th to the 12th, is that a problem for anyone?
I'll be removed. I can do it.
It's fine with me.
I'm available, it's fine.
Not a problem for me.
Mark and Sarah, are you good with the 12th for a meeting?
Yeah, the 12th works for me.
Should work, yeah.
Okay. All right.
And then the rest is just updates on everything else that we have going on in the next couple weeks. So we will be meeting with Tom and Lindsay and some other folks from the district to start talking about the educational program, which is a piece of the next submission to the MSBA that's written by the district and lays out the kind of educational plan and program. It'll be really an important piece of the puzzle. We will have the sustainability working group kick off. The site survey is ongoing. We will start our educational visioning workshops on February 2nd. The traffic study is starting soon, and that is all. Any other questions?
Jenny, just one thing to note is February break in
Yep.
those times too, but I think that that could also help if there's any.
Things that need to happen in the building while students are not there too.
I'm aware of the February break dates coming up, and I think we have planned around those, so I don't think we have any meetings that week. But good to know that we can get into the building that week if we need to.
I'd like to just mention how we showed you that crazy schedule last week. And Carla, you said something about like being fed by a fire hose or something. And it does feel like that, but I also don't feel like that this week. 2 weeks later when we hear and we're just going through the things, I think we've hit the ground running. I think we're pretty well organized. I think that moving things around is going to be normal as long as we communicate. And we're going to just, again, keep trying to make it easy for you. So thank you for helping us.
We're just establishing lines of communication, right?
Yeah.
So, thank you. Okay, plan for the next 2 weeks with project chart. Susanna,
Yes.
do we want, do you want to go into the acknowledgement of the designer team, the amendments first?
Yeah.
Super,
Yeah,
thank
we
you.
can follow the agenda.
Perfect.
So last meeting, we presented LBA Amendments 1 through 5, and that was sent out in this packet, so everybody can review that. It remains the same. There was just a little revision for Amendment 5, but otherwise, if anybody has any questions, feel free to let us know. Shirley can give us some answers, but otherwise we are asking for a vote of acknowledgement, and then Matt can sign off on the final Amendment 5 and just finalize everything.
And for that, on Amendment 5, it was an addition error. So in our packet, it's on page 56. Jackie, can we call up the packet on page 56, please? Just to show everybody what it was and why we. If you can go down just to the totals a little bit, thank you. So it's in the second column at 1,058,120. That is the new number. The old number that was in the attachment or the amendment that Fidel had signed was 1.2 million. So it was just an addition change there. So if we acknowledge these amendments with our vote, then Matt will go ahead and sign that last amendment, and then we'll have it sent to the MSBA as well, because any change to our contract needs to go to them. Karen, do we have a motion?
Yeah, let's give this a shot.
We're gonna have discussion.
Motion to. Okay, so we still want to acknowledge all amendments 1 to 5?
Yes.
Okay, motion to vote to acknowledge on the design team amendments 1 to 5.
A second. Nancy seconds. And then do we have any discussion? John, do you have a
I'm
motion?
not sure what acknowledge means. What does acknowledge mean?
So the amendments were signed by Fidel because they were part of the They were not part of LBA's contract, but they were already part of the $2.2 million that had been approved by town meeting. So he went ahead and signed, so he could, because he's authorized to do that, so they could get moving with their work. So we're not necessarily approving them, because if the vote didn't pass, then we're in a conundrum, because work has started. So a vote to acknowledge them by the committee just shows that we're in favor of those steps that were taken.
What, is this all, or is this just a start of a similar process for other things?
Perfect.
Yes, so yeah, this is just for amendments 1 through 5.
Yes.
Typically, we will come to you first for review and approval and a vote to approve. So we just expedited this process just to help us get us started, in which Fidel signed off. So in the future, for 6 and onward, we won't ask for a vote of acknowledgement, we'll ask for a vote of approval, which will give you time to review as well.
From our point of view, we need to know that what we are acknowledging or approving eventually is within the budget. In other words, if we get little bits, dribs and drabs, we don't know what the totality is.
So we track that, especially on this page, attachment F. We track every single one of the amendments, so we can see our total fee. Colliers also tracks our total project budget as well. So, we're always, if you ever need to see.
So you are in-house doing that tracking to make sure that we're not authorizing money we don't have.
Correct.
Okay, another question was, these are for sub-consultants typically.
Yes.
Right? Are there any changes to the sub-consultant list relative to what was originally anticipated? Are all of these the same companies, in other words? Are you changing any companies? No?
These are the same companies that we wrote down to the MSBA when we got the job, yes.
Okay, so there's
And we have
no
signed-
there's no
yes.
changes of sub-consultants
Not-
anticipated? They're all the same people that we have seen, we've seen the list before, yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Great questions, John. And one of the things too that, because I was asking those same questions last week,
Okay, I
was,
wasn't here, sorry.
no, not at this
Oh,
meeting.
not looking at the meeting.
We, Sharon Engstrom and Derek Pinto have, they will be using the ProPay system, which is the payment system from the MSBA for funds coming to us, hopefully. So they will be in charge of that. We are establishing a process with Colliers that they're gonna approve, and then they have a system that really tracks more nitty-gritty, tracks and against contracts and progress. And so that will include LBA, all of the subs, and then into construction, it will include all the subs and the contractor as well. So they are gonna be our checks and balances.
Yeah.
From MSBA portion, we will have Sharon and Derek on it as well. Great, good.
Oh, do we need to go around?
Anybody else?
No, just reminding you where we're at discussion.
We're gonna vote, right?
Yeah, we're gonna vote, yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table, no more discussion. And we will do a roll call vote. Karen,
Yes.
John,
Aye.
Kirk,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Pat,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Carla, yes, so we pass. I think that was 8-0. Thank you, everyone.
So you'll send me a DocuSign for that amendment? Is that how it
We-
works?
Don't have DocuSign, but are you able to, like, if we send it to you PDF, are you able to hand sign?
Yes, oh,
Okay.
sure, yeah.
Okay.
I thought you used DocuSign, but that's fine. And then do we process that with the MSBA or how do we? We'll send that to the MSBA?
Yeah, Colliers can work with you to send that over to the MSBA.
Okay, thank you.
And now we go into the assigning of a designee to act on behalf of the school building committee at certain times, right?
Yep.
Okay, Suzanne.
So let me share my screen. So we do have a
Sorry.
we do have a process. We tried to simplify it as much as possible. I know there's still a lot of words on the screen. But this is generally our workflow for any changes, any invoices, POs. So essentially, it starts off with there's a new request, right? And then everything should go to Colliers, where we will review. We will add a cover sheet on there with our recommendation to approve. There's going to be, a few questions. Is there a cover sheet? If there's not, direct it to us. If there is, we can move forward. As Colliers confirmed the 3 criterias, which is these black boxes up here, making sure that everything is within budget. If it's not, then we'll have that discussion. If that's satisfactory, then we will place a cover sheet, and then this is where the designee would come in. So sometimes we get a number of smaller change requests. For this purpose, we're using $100,000. And in order to keep things moving along, we usually have a designee, which is somebody who is on site all the time, which would be, for example, Joe Huggins, or anybody that this group would like. And we've also talked about having Matt as well in conjunction with Joe to review and make that approval. As always, anything approved will be brought to the SBC for confirmation acknowledgements, but anything over 100,000, we will not allow this designee to make those changes. We'll bring it to the larger group and have that discussion. But this is really just to keep things moving along so that we don't slow down the process, or if we need a little extra time. As always, that's okay. And this is on the basis that both parties, Joe and Matt, are comfortable signing off. If they're not, that's okay. We will hold off and we'll bring it to the larger group and we can discuss more.
Were we at 100,000 or we were at 50,000? Now I don't even remember. Do you remember, Matt?
I thought it was 100,000.
100,000? Okay.
I would imagine that before we go down that path, that would require a building committee vote to adopt that policy, which I don't think we need to necessarily make tonight. But 100,000 to be candid, sounds a little high to me off the cuff. But just, we can keep going, just my thoughts as we're moving along.
Yeah, we can also lower that if you're more comfortable at 75. I would say that 100,000 is probably a little high for our architect change orders, but when we go into construction, I'm sure you know, the costs are usually a lot higher.
So the whole idea is any type of change order like this is supposed to come to the building committee. If it can't, because there's an urgency, and if it's something out in the field and there's a sense of urgency to have somebody, we had discussed it in our XLT, like a Joe Huggins, like a town manager who can just approve it on the spot, and then it'll be brought to the committee the next meeting.
Yeah, I'm fully in support of that. I think it's a great idea. We probably should be, formalized by the committee, who that person is, whether it's Joe and Matt, and what the value is. And just, like I said, 100,000 sounds a little high to me, but if everyone on the committee felt like 100,000 was the right number, then that's the right number.
What's your suggestion?
My gut would be like 50 or 75,000, But I do understand the purpose of it, to keep things moving, and we don't wanna be in a situation where something is held up because we're waiting for a building committee meeting.
I do know that you see all of them, they get presented to you at that time as little pieces and then added all together. It's just that when it's a red flag when something's bigger than that number that you're looking at. So no matter what happens, you will be reviewing you'll be presenting every item to them, but in chunks at those times. So there'll be full transparency, as I remember.
Correct. And then I think another option that we could do is we can approve 50,000 today, and then as we're further along in the process, we can do 100 or 75. So
Yeah,
we're
once,
flexible.
once we, oh, go ahead, Nancy, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the library building committee followed the same procedure, so.
Yeah.
At that time, it was Peter Heckenbluckner who had authority, I don't remember what the number was, but this was a long time ago, so he could approve up to a certain amount because we needed it right away. And there were a couple of times when it became very important that he could do that, because we weren't meeting regularly at that point. But if it were higher than that, the committee had to get together and make a decision, so it really did facilitate the movement of things, because there are times when you just can't wait.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's a great idea.
Well, there are two items. One is for urgent things where you can't wait, and then there's another one, routine things where you can wait.
Right.
And I think we need to differentiate between those two. Maybe for the routine things where we can wait, we should be reducing the 100,000.
Sure.
Actually, we should for both of them. I'm with you.
What do you suggest, John?
Sorry?
For an amount, what do you suggest?
Well, I think what's been suggested is sensible right at this point in time.
Sure.
Whether later on we revisit
Sure.
it when we're in construction, if we ever get into construction, we can revisit it. But right now, during the design phase, I don't see any reason for 100,000, to be honest with you.
John, do you think 50 or 75 is a good number?
50.
John's at 50. Yeah, that would make sense to me, and we could always go up from there if we see it as a problem.
How about our individuals? My recommendation is, head of facilities right now, Joe, town manager right now, Matt.
I would like to, sorry, are you done? Sorry.
That's okay. To be in collaboration with one another, and if they don't feel comfortable, they don't vote on it. They don't pass it along.
So it'd be both of them.
No, both of them together,
Yeah.
that would be something we need to decide. It could be both. They both have to do it, or we have one or the other. But if they're both available, both, potentially. That's my suggestion.
I also remember from the library that, Nancy, I thought it was Bob at that time, so I remember Bob being involved in this process. And Pat, I appreciate your feedback from the field, because I don't really have a sense of where this number was. I felt more comfortable in our XLT meeting when we talked about this process, and that I knew that there was always going to be full transparency, and really we would only need to do this process in an emergency. And as Carla said, if our designee wasn't comfortable, then it won't get signed and it'll just come to the committee. So I felt comfortable with that, but I am certainly open to another number. And I like the way Carla phrased it. I think the town manager needs to have the responsibility, but I think it will be a collaboration between our director of facilities and the town manager.
And you're right, it is Bob. Peter started the project and then Bob took over, so yes, you're right. It's all good.
It was a
Okay, so if I can summarize, we're comfortable with $50,000 to have a dual partnership between the town manager and the head of facilities, that if they're both available to collaborate together, and if one is not available, then a person can do it solo, to be in effect immediately, right, after the vote, if it were to pass. And we can always change it moving forward. Anybody want to make a change to that? Karen, do you want to take a stab, or do you want me to take a stab at a motion?
Okay, so I think this is a great suggestion to get this number in here as well. So, motion to assign, Matt Cronalis. And you want me to do both? Is that what we decided?
I would go by title.
Motion to assign as the Killam School Building Committee designee, the town manager and the director of facilities to act on behalf of the Killam School Building Committee up to a maximum amount of $50,000.
For contracts, POs, and change orders up to a maximum of $50,000.
So moved. If Jackie got that, I say we go with it.
Second.
Seconded by Ed. And we'll take a roll call vote. Karen?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Kirk?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Greg? No Greg. Pat?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Carla? Yes. And we pass 8-0. Thank you, everybody. Okay. Want to continue?
Next is our schedule update. So this is our master schedule, and so far, as you can see, it's a lot smaller on the big screen. We've been tracking our activities so far. With design team selection, and now we are in the feasibility phase. Here we did include the SBC meetings as well. Jenny Lee, if any of these changed, let me know. The LBA does have a more in-depth schedule with all of the group meetings, the educational, the sustainability, the visioning, so that will be separate. We just, for this schedule, we felt that we wanted to keep it high level. So right now we are targeting our first submission, the PDP, to the MSBA on May 20th. They will have about 30 days to review. Sometimes it might take longer, sometimes it might be shorter. And then once they have provided their response and we provide our comments, if they do have any questions, then we move into the preferred schematic. As we move through those throughout the summer of this year, our next submission to the MSBA will be August 21st. Same process, they will have about 30 days to review, and then we'll have about 2 weeks to respond to any questions. And then we have our approval for our preferred solution. So at this point, we'll have a good idea of which direction we'll be going with. Next, we'll go into our module 4, schematic design. Here, we'll be working with the Department of Education and Elementary and Secondary Education for their submittal and approval. Our following SBC meetings will be more so once a month at that point, a little less frequent, I would say. And then our schematic design submission will be on February 10th, which is what we are targeting of next year. Then we move into funding the project, which is module 5. We have our town meeting. We are still working on whether it'll be annual or special town meeting. But these are the possible dates, either April 28th, May 1st, May 5th, or 8th. And then we have a little bit of a waiting period after town meeting, which is required by the MSBA, 35 days. So we can vote as early as June 24th, but we do have until June 30th. And then we've also added our modules 6, 7, and 8, which is throughout the remainder of the project. We do have other smaller in detail activities, but at this time we felt it was not necessary yet to go that deep into the details. But it gives us a broader picture of our design phase, which will span from summer of next year until the year of 2026. We'll be going through the phases of DD, 60% CDs, 90% CDs, all of which will also require a submission to the MSBA for their review and approval. Once we are around 90%, that's when we're going to start our bidding process, our pre-qual process and bidding, which will be towards the end of the summer of 26, and then construction to start towards the end of the summer, so I would say early fall of 26. Phase 1, phase 2, these are, just an estimate, depending on what our project is going to be. And then close out module 8 when we're looking into the summer of 2032. Sounds like a long time away, but it'll come quickly.
The end of phase 1, according to this, which is when you would open a new building but still have to do some other site work, says Wednesday 10/4/28. Isn't it supposed to be September?
Yes, we were just plugging in dates at this point,
Okay.
just durations.
I tend to start at the end and go backwards, so there's a little bit of that.
Correct. So take this with a grain of salt.
Clearly, you don't want to start in October, open the school in October.
No,
Okay.
I think the 30 months is kind of generous too, but I think this is very preliminary.
It's for, if it's a new school, it is always a possibility of getting it faster, but then we've almost been told we don't necessarily want to open in a mid-season.
Right.
So we'll see how that all goes. Plenty of time to figure that out. Bet you wish you had 30 months on every job.
I can think of one. I think of one where I'd like a little more than 18.
Any other questions? Great. Next we have the website updates. So I've attached in the packet our 2 original proposals from Boston Web Designers and Mandile Web Design. Since then, I have reached back out and talked about a social media package from both. Jane was there with Mandile, and we went through a number of questions, and they are more willing to offer that full package, where they'll do a lot of the content creation, and if there's any post will have to be approved by a member either of the board or us or LBA, but somebody from the project team will be, their eyes will be on it before it actually goes out. I did just receive an updated proposal from Boston Web Design, so I can share that on the screen. This was received just hours ago, so I haven't had the chance to really take a look at it, but this will be sent over as well. And essentially, they are willing to do some more Content creation, which we initially thought that they were a little hesitant to do. They'll also have a little more like strategic consultation as well on how we want to target certain audiences and, you know, how to message certain messages. And then the overall, I guess, the most important part is the cost. And they do have a fairly hefty cost, I will say, upfront for just setting everything up, and strategy setup would be an additional $7,200. Weekly for content creation and engagement, so that means, you know, managing those social media sites, collecting responses and responding, would be an additional $375 a week. And then monthly costs $200 for meetings, analytics, and reporting. So this is from Boston Web Design, and Mandial said that they have no additional costs for what they've already proposed in their original proposal to do the same, essentially do the same work. We will be having our next communications meeting this Thursday. We'll be bringing on Derek Osterman from my office. He is our director, but also our communications guy. So he will be very well equipped to answer questions and kind of guide us through the necessary process, and as well as projects that he's done where he's brought in a third-party PR group for his projects out in Rhode Island. So, yes, are there any questions so far?
Well, thanks for doing that. Thanks for pulling that together. That's really helpful.
This is something that we're gonna talk about at our communications working group on Thursday. And then we'll come back with a recommendation to the committee for a vote. Sound right, Jane?
That's correct. Yeah, I'm gonna sit next time right in line of sight with you. Yes.
Okay.
We'll talk about it at this meeting, and then we'll finalize our recommendation for the next meeting, which will, if we're meeting the 12th, then we've got a little bit more runway. We should be fine.
Great, thank you, Susanna. And moving along, we don't have, we've already done we don't have any warrants and invoices at the moment. We will talk next meeting about LBA's and Collier's initial invoices that have been submitted. And we can look at prior meeting minutes, so we can approve those. Did everybody have a chance to take a look at them?
I wasn't there.
The January 8th.
Yeah, fair enough.
The January 8th meeting. Great. Karen, do we have a motion?
That's awesome.
Sure. Motion to accept the meeting minutes of January 8th.
Second.
Seconded by Ed. Any discussion? Okay, we'll take a vote. Karen?
Yes.
John?
I'll abstain since I wasn't there.
Okay, Kurt?
Also abstain.
Sarah?
Same, I wasn't there.
Greg? Ed? Sorry.
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Carla? Yes, and it passes. Thank you, everybody.
Do we
And
have, Carla, do we have enough votes? I mean, it's okay to approve meeting minutes if you weren't there. It is okay. I just wanna make sure we had enough votes to get that done, so we don't have to do it again.
Karen.
yeah, we have five.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for checking and counting. I'm glad I have you here to count for me.
We're one happy team.
Okay, and future agenda items. We're gonna talk, like I mentioned, Collier's and LBA's invoices, next meeting charter edits. And everybody, we will get an email from LBA/Jackie on the charter information, asking us to have our comments back to Jackie by the 31st, and then we can get those over to LBA. And hopefully at the next meeting, we will vote on a proposal from the communications group on a web designer. So we can get that going. Anybody else have any other items for the agenda at this moment? Okay. I'll entertain one more motion. Oh, sorry,
One more
not yet.
item for the agenda for next week, we'll review the sustainability goals, which we're gonna develop with the sustainability working group.
Sure. Thank you. I'll entertain another motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Seconded by Ed. We will take a vote. Karen,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Kirk,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Pat,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Carla, yes. And our meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.